Japan in the 1980s was a place known for peace, order, and low crime. People felt safe in their homes, on the streets, and even in large cities like Tokyo and Osaka. But in 1984, a mysterious group turned this peaceful society into a place full of fear and uncertainty. This group was like something out of a movie or a crime novel. They had no faces, no known members, no identity. They called themselves a strange and chilling name, the Monster with 21 Faces. What they did over the next year would terrify the nation, humiliate the police, and leave behind a mystery that still remains unsolved to this day. It all began quietly in the early spring of 1984. Katsuhisa Izaki, the president of Izaki Glico, one of Japan's most famous candy and snack companies, had just returned home after work in Osaka. It was a normal evening. His mother and 2 children were already at home, but before he could relax, 3 masked men suddenly broke into the house. They were armed and moved with speed. Without wasting time, they tied up Izaki and dragged him out of his house barefoot, forcing him into a waiting van. The kidnappers left behind no clues, no evidence, and no reason. It was shocking. A well-known businessman, kidnapped from his own home in front of his family. The kidnappers soon contacted the company and demanded a ransom, 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold. It was one of the biggest ransom demands in Japanese history. The police jumped into action. They searched every corner, interviewed every possible witness, and placed pressure on the company. But then, something strange happened. Just a few days later, Izaki managed to escape on his own. He ran into a nearby warehouse, barefoot, dirty, and terrified. He had somehow freed himself and ran for help. The police were surprised. No money had been paid. The kidnappers had let their victim go. Or maybe they had planned something even bigger. And that's when the real terror began. Not long after Izaki's escape, several company vehicles belonging to Glico were set on fire. People thought it might be an act of revenge. But then, a chilling letter arrived at the police station and media offices. It was not just a threat, it was a statement. The letter was full of taunts, calling the police idiots and laughing at their failure to stop the kidnappers. It ended with a name that would soon become infamous, the Monster with 21 Faces. More letters followed, each more disturbing than the last. The group threatened to poison Glico's candy with potassium cyanide. Cyanide is a deadly poison that can kill a person within minutes. The group claimed they had already placed poison products in supermarkets across the country. Panic spread like wildfire. Parents stopped buying snacks for their children. People checked every candy package carefully. News reporters covered the story 24/7. Supermarkets pulled Glico products from shelves. The company lost millions of yen in just a few days. Its reputation was badly damaged. Employees were scared to come to work. The entire nation was now in fear of this faceless monster. But the group was not done. They began sending letters to other major food companies in Japan. House Foods, Morinaga, and Marudai Ham were next. The same threats, the same style, demands for money, promises of poisoned food. Every letter was filled with strange language, dark jokes, and cruel taunts. They didn't just want money, they wanted to show power. They wanted to embarrass the police. And they were succeeding. To prove they were serious, the group placed poison products in real stores. In one shocking case, the police found packets of Morinaga candy with cyanide and warning labels stuck on the packages. The group had left them there, not to kill, but to prove that they could do it any time. No one died, but the message was loud and clear. The monster with 21 faces could strike anywhere at any time. The Japanese police were under extreme pressure. They had never faced criminals like this before. There were no fingerprints, no direct witnesses, no real leads. Surveillance footage once caught a man in disguise, wearing a baseball cap and dark glasses, placing a suspicious package. He became known in the media as the Fox-Eyed Man because of his sharp, narrow eyes. He was believed to be a key member of the group, but despite a massive manhunt, he was never caught. Every move the police made seemed to be predicted by the group. In one letter, they mocked the police for searching trains, saying, "You looked in the wrong place again. You are fools." They always seemed to be one step ahead. It was as if they had someone on the inside. The Japanese public watched helplessly as the police failed again and again. Trust in law enforcement began to weaken. People felt unsafe, and the criminals grew bolder. Despite having no face or identity, the group became a national obsession. News programs ran stories every night. Children heard their name whispered by worried parents. Even foreign media started paying attention. The monster with 21 faces was becoming more than a group. It was becoming a legend. Months passed, and the group continued their game. They would sometimes stop their threats for weeks, only to send another terrifying letter without warning. They said they were watching. They said the police were blind. They seemed to enjoy the fear they were causing. And still, no one could stop them. Then came a turning point in the case. One that was even more tragic and shocking than anything that had happened before. Because the group would soon target not just companies, but a police officer himself. And what happened after that would change the course of the entire case. As months went by, the fear caused by the monster with 21 faces only grew stronger. Families were scared to buy snacks. Children were told not to eat anything without checking it first. Food companies were losing millions. The police were still hunting shadows. But the group continued to play with everyone, sending more letters, making new threats, and escaping every single time. It was like they were enjoying a dangerous game, one where they always stayed one step ahead. And the police could only follow their trail, never catching up. Then, in the middle of this chaos, the group did something even more disturbing. They started targeting police officers directly. Their letters became darker. They no longer only made fun of companies. Now they mocked the police too. The monster with 21 faces said things like, "You can't catch us. We are always watching you." It wasn't just a crime anymore. It had become a war between the invisible criminals and Japan's police. One man at the center of the storm was Police Superintendent Yamamoto. He was a respected officer, working long hours and doing everything possible to catch the group. But no matter how hard he tried, there were no clear leads. Every plan failed. Every move the police made was useless. And the group kept mocking him in their letters. The pressure on Yamamoto grew heavier each day. He became the face of the police's failure. Even though he had done nothing wrong, he carried the shame and burden of the entire investigation on his shoulders. Then, one tragic morning in August 1985, everything changed. Superintendent Yamamoto was found dead. He had taken his own life by setting himself on fire in a remote parking lot. It was a shocking and heartbreaking moment for the whole country. A man who had dedicated his life to protecting others had been pushed to the edge by invisible criminals he couldn't catch. Japan mourned his death. People cried. News channels showed his photo with soft music in the background. He became a symbol of how serious and painful this case had become. And then, just days later, something even more strange happened. A final letter arrived. It was from the monster with 21 faces. In this letter, the tone was different. There were no jokes, no taunts, no threats. The group simply said, "Yamamoto died. He was a good man. We now stop this game. Goodbye." And just like that, the letter stopped. The threats disappeared. The monster with 21 faces went completely silent. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. The police were shocked. After months of fear, chaos, and humiliation, the group suddenly ended their campaign. No one knew why. Was it guilt over Yamamoto's death? Or was it part of their plan all along? Some experts believe the group felt they had made their point. They had shown their power, embarrassed the police, and shaken the nation. Others believe something had gone wrong inside the group. Maybe one member disagreed and wanted out. But the truth is, nobody knows. And that mystery made the story even darker. After that, there were no more letters, no more poison threats, and no more sightings of mysterious fox-eyed man. The case went cold. The police kept investigating for years, but nothing came out of it. Every lead hit a dead end. Every suspect was released. No one was ever arrested. No one was ever identified. It became one of the biggest unsolved cases in Japanese history. Many people began to ask, who were they? How did they do it? Some thought it was an inside job, that maybe someone working in the food industry had knowledge and access. Others believe it was a group of ex-police officers or military men, people who understood how to avoid capture and play with the system. The way the monster always escaped, always predicted the police's movements, made it seem like they had training or special intelligence. But without evidence, everything remained a theory. Years later, journalists and authors tried to dig deeper. Some claimed the group had ties to organized crime, while others believed it was just a small group of pranksters who got lucky. A few conspiracy theories even said the group had help from political insiders or was secretly part of a protest movement against big companies. But there was never any proof. The members of the monster with 21 faces had done the impossible. They had scared an entire nation, humiliated the police, and then disappeared forever without leaving a single clue behind. In the years that followed, the story became a part of Japanese pop culture. Movies, books, and TV dramas were made about it. People debated online and in classrooms. Students read about it in criminology courses. It became more than just a case. It became a legend, a real-life ghost story from a modern world. Even now, decades later, the name Monster with 21 Faces brings chills to those who remember it. The fear may have faded, but the mystery remains. How could a group like that do so much and then vanish without a trace? Were they ordinary people with extraordinary planning skills, or something far more dangerous and hidden? What made this case even more disturbing was that nobody ever died, yet the fear they created was more powerful than any act of violence. It was psychological terror, and they understood how to use it. They didn't need guns. They used words, threats, and smart planning. They turned fear into a weapon, and in that way, they changed the way Japan saw crime forever. As time moves on, people wonder, will the monster with 21 faces ever return? Or were they just a dark shadow from the past, reminding us how fragile safety can be when the enemy has no face? Even though the monster with 21 faces disappeared so suddenly, their story never truly ended. Over the years, many people tried to solve the mystery. Police officers who had worked on the case never forgot it. Journalists kept digging into old files. Ordinary people shared rumors and guesses. The case became a symbol of how clever and dangerous criminals can be when they know how to hide in the shadows. Even today, new books and documentaries appear, try to explain what really happened. But the truth remains locked away, like a secret waiting to be uncovered. What made the monster with 21 faces so special was their ability to control a whole country without ever showing themselves. They were invisible enemies who used fear as their strongest weapon. Instead of attacking people directly, they attacked trust in companies, trust in police, and trust in safety. They made people question everything they believed was safe. When children stopped eating candy and families worry about every bite of food, it showed just how powerful fear can be. Some experts say this case taught the world an important lesson. Crime isn't always about violence or robbery. Sometimes it is about controlling people's minds, creating panic, and forcing governments to look weak. The monster with 21 faces was a master of this type of crime. They didn't need guns or knives. Their weapon was mystery, and their battlefield was the everyday life of millions. And that made them one of the most dangerous criminal groups in history, even though no one ever saw their faces. Over the decades, many theories about who the monster really was have come and gone. Some say they were former food company employees who knew how to create fear quickly. Others believe they were a secret group with political motives, wanting to shake Japan's economy and government. There are even wild stories that it was one person, a genius who planned everything carefully, sending fake letters and confusing the police to make it seem like many people were involved. But without proof, these remain only guesses. The mystery also raised questions about how prepared Japan was for this kind of crime. The monster with 21 faces exposed weaknesses in the police system. They showed how modern criminals could use letters, poison, and kidnapping without ever being caught. After the case, Japan changed how it handled threats and blackmail. Security around food companies became tighter. Police started to use new technology to track criminals better. In many ways, the monster changed how Japan fought crime forever. One strange part of the story is how the monster never caused real harm to people's bodies, only to their minds and businesses. They poisoned products but were careful not to kill anyone. Their kidnappings were frightening but did not end in murder. This shows they wanted attention and control, not destruction. It was like they were sending a message to the world. We can hurt you in ways you never expected, and you can't stop us. The Monster with 21 Faces case remains open in Japan. Every now and then, new clues appear or old evidence is re-examined with modern technology. Police still hope to find the people behind the letters. Some detectives believe that even after all these years, the truth could still come out if someone speaks up or if new technology reveals something hidden in the old files. For many people, the monster is a symbol of fear in the modern world. They remind us that danger doesn't always come from a face we can see or a place we can visit. Sometimes, danger is a shadow, a whisper in the dark, a message in the mail. It makes us realize how important trust, safety, and truth really are. And it shows that even in a safe, modern country like Japan, mysterious threats can shake the nation to its core. As you hear this story today, remember that true crime is not just about violence or murder. It is about human nature, power, and fear. The Monster with 21 Faces teaches us to stay alert, to question what seems safe, and to always protect the innocent. But most of all, it reminds us that some mysteries may never be solved, and some shadows never fade. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about real mysteries and unsolved cases from around the world, make sure to subscribe to Ai Alvantis. We bring you deep dives into the darkest secrets, the most puzzling crimes, and the stories that continue to haunt us. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, every mystery has a story waiting to be told.